There it is, recording. Hi, Miss Deb.
Hello.
And hi, Beth. Thanks for joining us. We're waiting for, I know we have at least one other board member that we're waiting to join us, so we'll give a minute or two for that, and then we'll get started as long as Leslie's okay with that. Leslie's really the boss. She lets me talk and pretend, but Leslie's in charge here.
No way. I like being in charge.
Kind of comes with the title there, President.
I'll keep my mouth shut.
Hey, can you let the dogs in?
I apologize if you hear things going on in the background. I have 4 kids and 2 dogs, and it's just it's a little loud sometimes.
I was just saying we have a young pup here that I'm sure as soon as my wife and kids leave for swim practice will start yapping downstairs. And
I was just gonna ask how the puppy was doing.
yeah, she's doing okay, but if it gets to be too loud and distracting, let me know and I'll figure something, and I may have to leave and go put her in a crate or something. But
oh, it's no worries. Did I ever tell you I was on a Zoom call with Susan one time, and we were meeting with someone from PSBA, and the mailman came or something, and my dogs were going nuts in the background. So I'm like muted, and I have to like unmute to say something and then mute again. And then she just kept making like dog references. I know we're just chomping at the bone here to do this. Killing me, Susan.
that sounds like Susan.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if we're ready, let's get started. It's oh, there's Noel. As soon as I say it, Noel pops into the waiting room. There we go. We'll let Noel in. Okay. And someone else on iPhone. That might be Beth on iPhone. I can't tell.
I'm going to be joining on my computer instead, so I'm going to leave my phone.
Oh, is that you? Okay, I see Deb's.
Yeah, I figured you wanted 2 of me. No, I'm just joking.
I see Deb's iPhone, and then I see just a plain iPhone. I'm not sure who that is, but no worries.
Yeah.
Okay, we ready to go?
Yeah.
Leslie?
Yeah.
All right. Well, would you like me to introduce Dana, since I might be most familiar with who she is and what she does? And so this evening, we have Dana Breeden joining us. Dana has been at the middle school for years. I won't give it away, Dana, but years has been there. And for the past many years has been our instructional support teacher at the middle school. And that role has always been about supporting students, and over the years it's kind of morphed and become more defined and redefined, and continues to do so as we identify, more needs for our students. And that's really what it's about. It's meant to be a position that is rather flexible and able to adapt and shift as we identify different needs. And to that point, what she's here to speak about this evening, executive functioning, while has kind of always been around, and many students have always operated with executive functioning deficits. And I would argue, especially at the middle school level, where there's so much development going on and maturity or lack thereof, and trying to figure out who they are as students, and coming out of elementary schools where they had a couple teachers into a middle school where now they have 6 or 7 teachers, and they're shifting classes every 45 minutes. So it's a lot of change for many students, and it could be immersing yourself in some ice cold water, a shock to your system when you first get there. So for us, what we've noticed, and this kind of, Dana, correct me if I'm wrong, grew out of the COVID years, just prior to, and then certainly during COVID, where we identified that there were a number of students who were struggling, did not have some of those executive functioning skills, whether it be organization, time management, how to study for a test, how to manage multiple classes. So you name it, these skills that and a lot of adults suffer with executive functioning deficiencies, but we noticed that our students, that the numbers in our building were increasing in that way. And for some, it was to a point where we could clearly identify that it was affecting their learning and their ability to succeed in some classes. So, Dana has spent a lot of time kind of organizing resources. And in fact, this year is our first year that we offer a class, an elective. I shouldn't say we offer it. We assign for some students a class. We call it Achievement Lab. And Dana, I'm sure, will speak to Achievement Lab. Well, if she's not planning to, I'll ask her to kind of speak to Achievement Lab a little bit and what that looks like and what goes on in there. But it's really meant to focus on the most needy of our students in the area of executive functioning. And it's a tier 2 support for us. If you think of tier 1 supports as being those supports that are in the classroom, if you will. And then tier 2 supports would be things like our ELA labs, our math labs, our achievement lab here, which are separate classes that are recommended by teachers for students who we think could really use that in order to meet their potential, or to grow, or to close any gaps that might exist between them and their like grade peers. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dana. I know she has a lot for you. Dana, do you need me to provide you with screen share?
Yeah, I was going to
Okay.
ask that. I'm this is my first time Zoom screen sharing, so I hopefully won't mess it up too hard.
Let me know if you need help. I'll walk you through it. But at the bottom of,
Yeah,
I'm now giving it to all participants, so you're able to share, and the floor
Okay.
is yours, Dana.
so hopefully this will work. Let's see. In the meantime, as I get it rolling, can you guys see it? Let me just get to let me get to
Oh, there you go. There's your presentation. Yep.
Now I just have to hit. Oh, sorry. That I'm trying to get to this little present button, but here we go. Got it. All right. I think
What
it's
is this template you're using here? This is
All
not
right.
PowerPoint. This
This
is
is
not.
Canva. The only thing I don't like about this, I really can't see you guys, so
Yeah.
I apologize for that. But I am really excited to talk about this. Corbin knows I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to the brain-based research things. And, I am also part of, I'm a mom in the building as well. So I have an 8th grader and I have a 9th grader. So this definitely is something that is near and dear to my heart, and something that I feel is important for all kids. So I'll just kind of take you through this. I have some basic information about executive functioning. I have some information about what our building's doing, and then some things that you can do to help at home, because I know, it doesn't just stop at school. So let's see if we can get through this. All right, so I call it EF. That's the shorthand of executive function. I really like Harvard has a program, the student learning program, that they do a lot of research out of executive functioning. You can see here, it talks about it. It's everything you need to organize and coordinate your life. I call it the air traffic control of your brain. It's the planning, prioritizing, working towards goals, self-regulating, these emotional ups and downs, being able to handle new situations, really all of it, the working memory. It's everything you need to be a student. And that's what it is. But let's talk about, sorry, there we go. These are some assumptions. So I like to start off with the assumptions, because a lot of times in middle school, we think right away they must have a disability. They're not able to coordinate all these things, but it's not always the case. And we'll talk about some developmental things coming up. But they're not lazy. Children with executive functioning difficulties are lazy. Not the case. They sometimes will appear lazy because they are just so overwhelmed in their head trying to coordinate everything. That's a false. That's not true. The whole idea that ADHD and executive functioning difficulties are the same thing. A lot of times we get caught up in these labels and identifications. Not true. Executive function difficulties can be present in your life, and you don't have to have ADHD. You don't have to have any, diagnosed to have that. Sometimes they go hand in hand. Obviously, we see that a lot. We see a lot of ADHD students struggling in the executive function realm. But I will tell you that we have a lot of high functioning gifted students that have a hard time with executive function. We have a lot of students across the board. So that's not true. The idea that children are born with some predetermined executive functioning abilities, it's a developmental milestone. You go through different levels of development as you are progressing through your executive functioning maturity. So most people are able to figure out a way to make it work for them as they get older. Executive function abilities and related skills can only be supported in the school setting. And you guys are here because you want to help your students, and you guys know that's not true too. Of course, school should do everything we can to set it up for our students so that there isn't big roadblocks and barriers for them in the areas of executive function. In our building in particular, I feel like we really have been studying this the last few years. I feel like Corbin said, like out of COVID, we've really been looking at how can we set this up for our students to succeed in that tier 1 for everyone, and then how can we create some supports for tier 2 for the kids that are still struggling, that need more one-on-one. And that's, I've been really enjoying us working on that as a building, and I think we're going to continue to move in that direction. And then obviously students with executive function difficulties will never be able to follow their own tasks, and they'll never be able to do things without adults. Obviously, that's not our goal, and that's not true. I will talk about that continuum of development though, and what that looks like. So let's move on. Sorry, I'm not talking too fast. Sorry, I'm struggling. All right. So these are the 8 executive functions that we have that they've identified. This one, you can see in this graphic, it kind of goes through it all. I'm not going to read them to you all, but you can see that idea of self-control impulse. So you think about your middle school student and the ability for them to maybe put down the phone, or the ability for them to put down the video game controller, stop and think before you're doing something. We see that as, that's a definite executive function. Being able to emotionally control yourself. Those big feelings, how do you handle big feelings? How do you handle small feelings? Again, that's all in that control center of your brain. We talk a lot about those kinds of things when we talk in our SEL group. Some of our SEL lessons kind of touch on that kind of idea of, how do you control your emotions? How are you a student within your own mind? Initiating tasks, getting started, being able to plan and prioritize. This is a huge piece of our achievement lab. We really kind of hammer in that idea of like, how do you get started? How do you find motivation? But also, what's your plan? How are you going to get started on things? And coming up with some skills and little tips and tricks to help students kind of get through that hard part of getting started. I personally struggle in this when it comes to cleaning my house. It's so hard to get started, and I have to like trick myself and bribe myself and get it done. Working memory is that ability to kind of store information up in your head, hold it, and then use it. So like when you're studying for a test, or you have to remember directions, those kinds of things. I feel like nowadays, I sound like an old person, but like when we were younger, you had to remember like directions, you had to remember phone numbers, we had to keep stuff up in our heads a little bit more. And if you didn't have it, you were kind of out of luck. Whereas now with technology, good or bad, I don't, that practice of that working memory as little or younger children, I don't know if our kids really had that. So that's something now we have to really work at to teach them. And the other side, we have the self-monitoring. Are you able to see where you are in view of others, and in class in particular, are you able to kind of see, I'm falling asleep, I'm drifting, I'm focused, that idea. Flexibility, being able in your mindset to see something and be flexible with that. Also dealing with changes in plans, changes in non-preferred activities. I see that a lot with my own personal children, when it's a non-preferred activity, the flexibility is not there in the thinking. You know, it's time to get off the computer and clean your room, not always wanting to do that. Obviously, organization's a big one. We always kind of know about that's a big thing, a big sign for executive function. That child that's got the binder or the bedroom that's a disaster. You know, will my kid always be a disorganized mess? Hopefully not, but hopefully we can help with that. And then planning and time management. Those are the big 8 that we look at when we're talking about all the functions. It's a lot, and I think it's a lot for our middle school kids when they're, you know, when you think about them as a student and all these things going on, and they have so much going on in their heads. I realize this stuff, you probably can't see it very well, and I'm going to send this out to you as a PDF, but it's interesting. So you can, you know, again, I'll send this to you later. Nerding out that I am, I love looking at how things progress, and this will show you, you know, how you develop executive function as an infant, toddler, all the way up to young adult. You know, that part of your brain isn't fully developed until your early 20s. So sometimes I think the frustration we get with our students, our kids and students, you know, it's like we're asking them to do sometimes adult things, but their brain isn't quite there yet. And that's where we have to find that reach. We have to help them. But this document, again, I'll send this to you. I just think it's interesting to see. I also think it's interesting, which you probably can't see, but the early learner ends at age 12, and then the teen starts at 13. So you think about the kids in our building, you know, they're 12 and 13. So they're kind of right at that cusp of becoming a little higher level functioning in their executive function, but they're not quite there. And that's what I love about middle school so much, is the whole idea that like we have such a large continuum of learners because of hormones and growth spurts and all the things. You know, we might have a kid in our class who's really like, he's running his own business, babysitting. And then we may have another kid in our class, same age, but they're still playing Pokemon. They're still, you know, looking at, and there's nothing wrong with either student. It's just the continuum is such a big difference that we have to try and manage and support that. And I think sometimes as parents, at least we look at our kids and we think we compare them to all these other students their own age. And at middle school, it can look different. And I always try to remind myself of that when I'm working with kids, or, you know, when we're looking at my own kids, trying to think this is where they are now, but it's okay because it's such a big difference. You know, when they're in first grade, they all kind of are learning the same stuff. So they all look kind of the same. It's kind of fun. But I think at home, the developmental implications is probably where you see that when, you know, the middle school brain development and the executive function and expectations aren't always in sync. There's the emotional explosion in the hormones. And we almost sometimes see a regression at middle school with some of these executive functions. And sometimes, you know, parents get concerned and they think, is my child disabled? I mean, sometimes we look into it and there is a disability, but a lot of times there's an emotional concern, or there's something else going on. And that's where we work in our team to try and help support that. And I think that's been the greatest piece of our achievement lab, is giving kids some time and space to work that out without having to like actually go through an evaluation. So that's that interesting piece of that. I'm just checking my notes. So moving quick on to how you can help. Now, this list is not exhaustive. I'm making a little Google site that Mr. Uhas is helping me with, and we'll share it out with you guys with a lot of different online resources and groups. I follow a lot of people on, you know, social media. Grown and Flown is like one of my favorites, just for like grounding advice as a parent and with teenagers. But you know, things that we have available at school and you have at home that you can do, Google Keep and Google and a planner. So basically what we've tried to do at the beginning of the year, and I'm pretty sure every student has had at least 1 or 2 exposures to this, and I see it in classes. Some kids are always using Google Keep, some aren't, but Google Keep is a great way for them to record homework, missing assignments, gives them a moment to plan and prioritize. And it's something that if you're seeing at home struggling with your child to like get them to become more involved in what they have to get done, Google Keep is a great way. They can share it with you, the parent. You guys can have a share list going and you can see exactly what they have to do. You can put things on their list. They can put things on your list. You can start, like some parents I know start with they just do a snack list just to get practice with Google Keep. So they'll say, okay, let's share the snack list. And then it's a nice way for them to put in the snacks they want. And then when you go to the store, it's there. And then you can kind of push that into, okay, let's talk about your homework, your upcoming tests. We have in our Google Classroom, Google Calendar. As a parent, you have guardian summaries that you also can kind of look at. But, you want to start shifting away from that, I'm sure. Like you want them to take control of their learning. So with that, I think the idea, I'm just going to switch down to the 360 thinking question. So there's a woman I got to see, Sarah Ward. She's actually a speech language therapist, and she has a wonderful, like her research is all based on this idea that we have to help our teenagers learn how to think things through. A lot of times, and I'm so guilty of this, you just want to think it through for them. And so, you're telling them it's time to leave, it's time to go to practice, time to get dressed. But what we should be really trying to do more of is stopping and having them plan it out and almost work backwards, right? So I give the example, the other, like 2 weeks ago, or right before break, I had a 7 a.m. parent meeting. I had a doctor's appointment after school. I had my son had a practice, and I had to pack because we're going on vacation. So there was like a lot of things in one day. So I had to go backwards. I had to really work back in my day and think, okay, I have to leave the house. I know it's such a simple thing and we do this, but like, I have to leave the house earlier. I have to leave at 6:15. I have to make sure that I have dinner ready at at 4 o'clock. I have to start making dinner to get dinner ready by 5. This is something we as adults just do. We plan out all those little steps in detail, but our teens sometimes can't do that. So giving them time and space and giving them chances to kind of do that with you, it's very eye-opening. If next time they have a bunch of things they have to take care of, and trying to talk to them about, how much time do you think it's going to take you to get ready for soccer and eat dinner and then come home and then get your homework done and still make it to bed on time? That's the idea of 360 thinking. I don't know if that, it's a little complicated to explain, but it's really cool. And I try to use it with our students a lot, especially when they have like multiple tests and things. We try to talk to them about, let's write it down. Let's see what it looks like. Let's really dive into this. Because it's so much easier for me to be like, as a teacher, to say, okay, you're going to get this done first because your test is tomorrow. You're going to do your homework for math second because that's not due to Friday. But I really want to give them that chance to really talk it out. The other thing that I have on the list is an analog clock, which I know this is crazy, but I read a lot of research, and it's really interesting about how our students just don't know time. They don't understand the passage of time. And again, I go back to like when I went to school, we had the analog clock and you watched the clock go by. Like I knew what 15 minutes felt like in my 9th grade English class because it was so boring and I couldn't wait to get out of it. But I was like, you could see it. Our children grew up in digital clocks. They have digital clocks in elementary school. So they really don't understand what that feels like. So what you can do, and you can see I have a little picture of one here, is this little, you can get one of those cheap little clocks, those analog clocks, and you can get highlighters and I write on the clock. So like, I wish I had one to show you, but like I have a little plastic clock and I use those VisiView markers, and I literally will mark the clock with my student and I'll say, okay, let's 5 minutes to plan out what you're going to do. And then you shade in. So you can see here in the little picture, that's yellow, you give them 5 minutes to plan. Then it's how long do you think it's going to take you to get this task done? So that's that idea of them, guesstimating time, understanding their space and time. And then you fill that in green. And then the red piece, which is really, I think the biggest piece of this, is that getting done. So yellow is planning, prioritizing, green is working, And then the red, okay, it takes you 5 minutes to get done. And by get done, that means you don't just walk away. You don't leave your papers. You have to either hit the submit button. You either need to put it in your binder. You might need to, organize some paperwork and put it in a folder. You might have to staple it. It's all the little things that a lot of our students just think, I'm done. I did it. I don't know how many times, you probably have had that conversation too. But really dedicating time and space and talking to them about these 3 ideas, the planning, getting it done, or planning, doing, and getting done. Really, I know it seems so like rote, but it's very important for them to see it. And the visual clock really works. So you can get a clock at like Walmart for like, I think like $8 or $10. I have a couple at my house. And again, the VisiView markers, they wipe off. And I like actually count the time with my kids. So like, I'll be like, okay, how long do you think this will take you to write your TDA? 5, 10, 15, 20, and then we shade it in. And like, they like it because it gives them a goal. It cuts down on the whole just kind of sitting there, spinning your tires. And I think, for me, I've gotten good feedback from students about it and other parents that have used it. It keeps the arguments down at home because you're like, look, this is what you have. So it's something to try, and I'd be happy, obviously, if anybody needs more on this, I could send you lots of stuff. But Sarah Ward is the person who's really behind that idea, and I think it's really valuable. And she also came up with an idea of photo reminders too, which is so simple, but like, if you have a student who's continually having a disorganized locker or a disorganized backpack, you can create checklists until you're blue in the face, but it's the visual that really dials home for these kids. So having an actual photo, this is what I want your bed to look like when you're done. This is what I want your closet to look like when it's done. This is, whatever it is at your house that you're having a hard time getting your teenager to do, and maybe you're going back and forth a little bit about it. It's such a great argument ender because you're like, nope, not like the picture, and you just kind of keep showing the picture over and over again until it's the way you want it. It's a nice way to give them visual reminders without having to go back and forth about how to keep things organized or neat or clean. Again, Sarah Ward recommends, like, she just prints out little, she just gets the little photos of what it is that she's working on with her student or her child at home, and they keep it on a little ring, and it's just little reminders. Again, just something to think about. Let's see if we can move on quickly. Sorry, such a nerd. This book is great. Highly recommend this one, Smart but Scattered Teens. If I have one copy, I'd be happy to share it out with anybody who wants to borrow it. I do think the local bookstore or the library has it, but it's a great book. Highly recommend that. It just really goes through school-based things, but also home things. So anything that you might need. All right, so what do we have? Okay, so these are some of the things at school that we are kind of currently doing that I think I just want to make sure we highlight and share. We have our Achievement Lab, which again, Corbin did a great job of kind of introducing and talking about. It's our Tier 2 intervention. It's really kids that we've identified that really just need real intensive support in the area of any of those areas of executive functioning. Our guidance counselors also do offer attention focus groups. So they'll do, like, their support groups that they do. They usually survey all the students. It's a self-referred program that they run. So it's just for like 5 weeks with a guidance counselor. They talk about, how to make your life better. It's a very short intervention. And again, that the difference is that one's very much voluntary. Students kind of have to go through that. We do also have counseling services for kids that need more intensive, even more intensive services. We have a intervention counselor who will work one-on-one with kids and really work through specific concerns. Sometimes a lot of those students will fall under that emotional control, like where they're just having a hard time coordinating those kinds of things. We have a lot of Tier 1 initiatives that we're trying with our MTSS team. One thing we have done, you might have seen it, just something simple, but like talking to our teachers about like, hey, let's make the grade books all the same. Let's keep that like so that parents can easily understand what a missing assignment looks like. And so our students understand what a missing assignment looks like in each class. We've done a good job of that. I think the teachers are like really excited to kind of keep things simple for them. And we keep looking for ways that we can keep doing that to keep the expectations even, because we know there's, you know, they're going to so many different classes with so many different expectations. And it's something we're going to continue to talk about and continue to look at, I think. And I think it's worth a good conversation and to continue that. Oh, my S is gone. That should have been SEL activities and lesson plans. That is our social emotional learning things that we've been doing. A lot of our activities we do are focused on that self-awareness and where are you in our community of a learner? Where are you as a learner? How can you continue to thrive and grow? That's the big part of executive function. And I think that's why a lot of kids struggle, because they haven't reached that self-awareness yet that like, okay, I have to work on this. I have to work on focus. I have to work on turning in assignments. And until they're able to like see it and understand that like this is the way life is for everyone, it's a bit of a struggle for them. We do things during WIN. We have our WIN time, which we really have tried to make it more dedicated to academics, getting what you need, what I need, who do you need to see, what teacher do you need to go to, having the teachers really helping kids reach out, having kids have that extra support when needed. During WIN, we have a structured study hall for some students that really need that more support, and that's been a nice addition. And then we also have a club after school, Get It Done Club. That's really after school on Tuesdays, till 3:30. Kids need a ride. That's the only downfall. However, it's been really nice, small groups of kids in the library. We've been getting some high school students together to come over and help out. And it's been good just keeping kids focused. So I feel really good about it. We've really grown a lot of these things recently, like Corbin said, from COVID and just looking at our students as they get here and the big transition from elementary to middle. Okay, real quick. The Metacog is what you awesome people gave me a grant for, which I'm so thankful for. It is an online, I'm switching gears a little bit. It's an online assessment that I can use with my Achievement Lab students. It works in coordination with a curriculum that the high school is letting me use called the SMARTS curriculum, which is an executive functioning curriculum. But the Metacog is so cool because it's interactive and it really gets kids to do a survey of themselves, and it highlights what are you good at, you know, what do you need to work on. It really looks at their perceptions of how they use their executive functioning skills. You can read that here. You know, it's online. They develop different learning profiles, and then the learning profiles allow me as their teacher to help kind of steer them in the right direction, and allows them to really build out, you know, what it is that they need to work on as a learner to get to that next level. And that's the best part, you know, and the growth that they get to see. So I'm very excited about the Metacog. I'm really appreciative that I got the opportunity to try it this year. And then at the end of this presentation, I will get emails of anybody who wants to try it. I can send you the link. You can do it, or you can do it with your student, or you can both do it, or however you want to do it, but you'll get a little profile for yourself and on your student. And I think, you know, we're just dabbling in it this year. I don't know what, you know, what will come with it, but I'd be happy to share it with you and just get parent feedback on that. Because I think, you know, you guys will have a lot of nice things to tell me that will be helpful as we plan. The video I can't show because it didn't work out, but I will send the video will come with the information to the link when I send you the link. So you'll get a video that tells you how to access the link, and then it's very simple. And then you'll be able to click the link, take the survey, and you will get your results immediately. So if you do the survey later, and I'll remind you in the email, just make sure you print it or keep it right away, because I don't know. It doesn't like say archive it very well. It does, but it'll be more teacher friendly looking, so it's hard to explain, but you'll see it, you'll get your results. Just keep that printed out or take a picture on your phone and you'll be good to go. But the end result of our Metacog is the SMART goal setting, which is really the end of our course in Achievement Lab. And we, SMART goal is what we use. You probably use these in the business world. I think they're really easy, but students really struggle coming up with goals, but it's something that I think lifelong learning, everyone should be looking at SMART goals in their life and trying to keep getting better at whatever it is you want to do better in. So the kids identify what they specifically want to work on. The measurable part is always the hardest for them. It has to be a number, I tell them. So like, okay, I want to do better in math. Well, what does that look like, right? I want to do better in math. I want to raise my grade by 10%. I want to get higher than a 75%, whatever the number is. I really push that for them because teenagers are so kind of abstract with what they think is good, and like they don't always nail it. It's hard to get them to nail down like an actual like measurable goal, but it's fun to talk to them and work through it. Obviously it has to be achievable. It has to be realistic. Can't be like, I want to be a professional soccer player at 15. We have to kind of dial that back. And then relevance. So, how's that going to help you? Especially, when we talk relevancy in terms of our Achievement Lab, how's that going to help you as a student? And then time bound. We set in Achievement Lab right now, I set the timeline. So like right now we're working on some SMART goals that'll be done at the end of the quarter. So they've been working on these SMART goals since we came back from break. So I try to make them pretty small right now because the idea is, and at home you can do this, like you just start with small goals. And as you see success and they start to feel successful, you can grow it out. Even just post-it notes on a mirror every day. Like, what are you working on, just to see it? Vision boards are always fun too. Anything you can do to get your student to be goal focused, I think helps kind of combat some of those executive functioning things that our kids are just working so hard at trying to get done, trying to do well at. All right, I know you're probably tired of hearing me. So I'll start stopping, but I just want to say, we use the goals again to give them direction and help them focus. I wrote the last piece of this, Corbin hears me say this all the time. I'm like a broken record, but I really believe this is like what drives me in this. And I love to see kids be empowered to make school happen for them, not to them. And I always try really hard to let them know that you are in the driver's seat of your learning. Executive functioning deficits and challenges hurt. They mentally can hurt these kids. They can really make them feel bad about themselves as learners. And I try really hard. And, that's really what we work for, is just getting them to see that switch and flip the switch to like, you can actually make this all better for yourself. But yeah, so that's my presentation. So I really appreciate everyone listening to me babble on and on, but I appreciate your time. And, I love having parent support, and being a part of this with you guys has been nice.
So Dana, are you okay sharing your email maybe in the chat for anybody who might
Sure.
want to email you specifically for any resources?
Yes, I would love to do that.
Yeah. So the idea, and Dana had a tough task tonight. I just, when speaking with her, gave her a half hour to try to encapsulate what she has been building for years and continues to work on every day of the school year right now. And really, Dana spoke about, there's her email in the chat. Dana spoke, and you feel free to unshare your
oh, sorry.
presentation,
Not
Dana.
sharing. Yeah. There we go.
That way I could see everyone's face instead of just a few.
Sorry.
That's okay. Dana obviously works in the Achievement Lab, but that's a when it comes to our total student population, that's a drop in the bucket, right? I mean, we're talking there about our 10 to 20, Dana. Most needy students in those areas, but they get some real intense supports, which is awesome for them. I know Dana has seen great growth, but Dana, talk the other students that you work with in your role as IST, as an interventionist as well. What are the most common areas of weakness that you find with the masses of students?
Yeah, so I mean, it really varies. I think a lot of it is they'll be in class and there'll be an assignment and they don't finish the assignment. So then they just get up and they leave and they forget that that assignment is still there and it's now in a grade book as a 0 and now we need to get that done, and they don't think about the implications of that, right? And like the whole idea that you have to finish that assignment, that's your homework, or that's what you're doing at WIN today. So trying to get them to be self-aware of, what did you do in class and what do you need to get done in class, that, or what do you need to get done after class, just to wrap up yourself as a learner is one area I see a lot of. I think, it varies, but like even just organization in terms of binders, right? And like just stuff flying everywhere. Trying to get them to part with things is really hard. One thing I suggest is like at home, if you get one of those accordion binders, those big accordion ones, and you get your students, sit down with them and be like, look, anything from quarter 1 and 2, you shouldn't have it in there anymore. Well, 2's almost over. I would say wait a week or 2, but get them to clean it out. And if they're like freaked out about throwing stuff away, just put it in the little accordion and tell them like, I'll keep it in the office or wherever. It'll be there safe and sound. And I guarantee you, June, you can throw it in your bonfire and they will never even ask about it again. But, the organization is tough, and getting them to talk to you at home about what they're doing at school.
Yeah.
I know my own kids. I'm like, what did you do today? I hear about all the other crazy stuff, but I don't get to hear about the learning. It's happening. They just don't want to talk about it.
I think the organization piece and the time management piece are two big ones for a lot of our students. I had to laugh earlier when you spoke about some of the most frazzled students we have are gifted students. And I'm the father of 3 boys. The oldest is an eighth grade boy who's duly identified, gifted and special education, has an IEP and a GIEP, and is very smart in many areas, but would leave here in his underwear most days if I didn't tell him how to get dressed and what to wear to school each day. So it's interesting. And one of the things that I've done here that I think helps a lot with him are regular times where we sit down with his binder and remove the excess. When they've already had a test on something, that material's, you don't need to keep that stuff in your binder. You've been tested on it. Let's put that somewhere else in a folder. You mentioned that accordion binder somewhere that we don't necessarily have to throw it in the trash, although everything that he comes across, trash, but you put it in an accordion binder by subject. Then at the end of the year, when you know for sure you don't need it anymore, then we can go ahead and trash it, burn it, have a bonfire, whatever you want to do. But watching his binder go from, and right about now we're approaching the end of the second marking period. It's about the time where it's looking to give birth again, his binder. And so it's time for us to sit down and start removing and weeding through and getting ready for the start of the third marking period and the second semester. So all of our students are, if they have electives in their schedule, are going to start new electives now in the second semester, the second half of the year. So simple things like that. And that doesn't take long, but the benefits of that, so that they know when they go in their binder that what they have in there is necessary and not just excess, and it's in the rings and not just stuffed kind of in pockets somewhere. The lockers are a great thing, but I guarantee you, if you were to go into your student, well, maybe not so much anymore, I don't know, but I know for the years when I was a teacher, at the end of the year when we had kids open their lockers, it was amazing what we found in there. There were papers stacked midway up the locker. There was old fruit, swim clothing from the first marking period, you name it. It's some nasty stuff you find in the lockers, but it's that organization piece is so huge, and just anything we can do to get them kind of taking some ownership of that, I think is big. Dana also mentioned MTSS, and I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that term or that acronym. In education, teachers and educators love acronyms. I just threw out GIP, IEP, IST. Dana's our IST. We have MTSS coordinator, but MTSS in the education world is fairly new compared to some other, ideas that are out there, but it's a multi-tiered system of supports. And with during COVID, with some of the grant money we received, we have for the last couple of years an MTSS coordinator, it's a teacher on assignment in our building, who's really been tasked with identifying what are our areas of need. How can we align all these different things, like what Dana does and what we do after school and peer tutors and the labs, and all these, and in class, the tier 1 supports in class, the instruction that we know is proven to be best instructional practices. How can we make sure that teachers are using that in their classroom, and aligning the notations we use in our grade books in Skyward. How do we know what an M means? Is everybody using an M? If it's left blank, what does that mean? Should we enter a 0 for things? So really just taking a look and making sure that we're aligned across our building, and we meet not just as a middle school MTSS team, but our MTSS coordinator and the high school MTSS coordinator coordinate between themselves. One of the big things for us when we started this last year and decided this is what we want to apply our grant money toward is making sure that we were aligned from 7 to 12, because they get 2 years with us. They get 2 years in the middle school, 7, 8, and then they're off to the high school. And what we didn't want to have happen was for us to kind of build up these supports in the middle school, and then they go to the high school and either don't know what the supports are, or they look completely different, or they're not there at all. So we've done a really nice job, I think, and we were in a little bit of this is no slight on the high school, but we were at a little bit of an advantage when compared to the high school, in that we had an academic coach, an instructional coach in place already in our building. We had Dana in place already as instructional support teacher in our building. Those weren't in place at the high school. But with an MTSS coordinator at both buildings, we've really been able to align some of our practice. Dana mentioned structured study halls, which is something we continue to grow out right now as we identify students who might just need a little more. Students who are having trouble because of work completion and are failing multiple classes because they're not getting things done. These structured study halls are 5, 6 students deep, and then one teacher in there who helps them on a very individualized basis to go through and check on their assignments. What's your due date? How can we chunk this into smaller pieces so we're not waiting till the last minute to do it all? So the MTSS is really a large umbrella under which Dana's role as IST falls. Our instructional coach falls under that umbrella. We look at all kinds of data. I've seen more spreadsheets this year than I've seen in my previous 29 years in education, but we look at everything from our e-hall pass to see how frequently are students leaving the classroom to go out in the hallway somewhere, whether it be bathroom, locker, drink, whatever else. There are students that are in the hundreds, in a marking period of times leaving a classroom, and then I mean multiple hundreds, not like 100, like 300 times. So I think we discussed yesterday at our meeting the student who has been out the most so far. If you added up all the minutes they spent out of the classroom, it's 17 hours. Dana, I don't know if you were in there at that leadership meeting yesterday, but about 17 hours over the course of the year so far. So this is data that we use when we look at students who are struggling. It's not just because they're not handing in work. So oftentimes there's other things going. How often are they visiting the guidance office? And for what purpose are they visiting there? Is there something else going on emotionally, behaviorally that we need to know about? So it's really a broad look at the whole child. And we're the area that we continue to work on and hopefully develop out every year moving forward is our flexibility with that. The ability to move students in and out of labs more easily without having to switch up their whole schedule. The ability to use our WIN period to our advantage more, where we can get kids in small groups getting supports they need during WIN. So it's constantly evolving. Dana's a big piece of that, and I don't want to suck up too much more time. I do want to give the parents who joined us tonight the opportunity to ask any questions they have, because a big part of this for us is helping answer any curiosities that you have. So does anybody have anything for us? Feel free to just unmute and call them out. And if not, we'll this meeting, see Samantha, you raise your hand, I'll get to you in a second. This meeting is recorded. The recording will be posted on the PTA site off of the middle school website. So if if you want to, what did she say again? And what was that slide she showed? You can go look at it, and Dana will share all the resources with me, and I'll email out to parents as well. So I see Samantha, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Hi. Thanks. I think this was really great. I'm definitely interested in the Metacog online. My daughter is academically wonderful. It's the things at home that are hard. So I guess my question is, we'll try the Metacog online, and then I don't know if I recognize that there needs to be a lot of support for kids at school who have trouble with academics, but like sometimes I've found that suggestions not from your parents are more readily accepted. So I guess I'm just wondering, if there's room or options for support, even if our academics don't suggest that we need it. Like, anybody who knows me knows that we are sometimes late getting to things.
Yeah.
So
Dana, you need a club, like an after-school club, for
Yeah.
example, that parents can sign the kids up for.
I do. I know. I would actually, that would be great. Like almost like a coaching, right? Like how to get it together.
Well, I will tell you that Dana, most of the time, the students that make their way to Dana specifically are those who academically are struggling. Certainly students who are struggling socially, emotionally, they might be caught in a different net that we have, and we're constantly evaluating. We have weekly meetings with our guidance department to identify who are students of concern, what are the concerns. Those students, depending on what they're dealing with, if it's anxiety, if it's school avoidance, we've seen it all. But we certainly would like to believe, and I know we do have supports readily available as well there. It's just from a different angle. It may not be through that academic lens. It might be through a counseling lens. So it may not be Dana they see, but they may have more frequent meetings with a counselor. They may be pushed towards certain groups that we have. We have groups for students who come from split families who've gone through a divorce recently, groups for students who are dealing with deaths in the family, who deal with anxiety. So we have a lot of different nets. We hope that we're catching as many students as possible. Sometimes those students are very open and free to share that they're struggling and they're in need. And sometimes we have a staff who's very astute and can tell when something's just amiss, or when someone just seems off or sad or whatever, and then they usually will have those conversations with counselors. So it's a great question. It's a great point. I would like to think that we catch a lot more than just the academic, although in Dana's shoes, that's kind of where her focus is.
Yeah, I do think I know for parent piece, right? Like if some of the resources I'll share with you, I think will help you at home. But obviously you can always email me and we can problem solve. And if it's something where, I can talk to them for a little bit about we can work through that. I would love to help. So individually, I don't mind.
to that point, a step further, and I can kind of segue here for Leslie. We've been in or will be in contact with the Crime Victim Center of Chester County, and a gentleman by the name of Joe Myers there, and they've come into our building before and spoken to our students about all kinds of topics, from creating a positive digital footprint, online security, social media, healthy relationships at the middle school level, sexual harassment, you name it. There's a wide menu of topics that they are trained to present on, and we've already touched base with them and asked if they'd be willing to come and speak at some PTA meetings on some topics of our choice as well, that are more along those lines of not academic, but rather emotional, and some of the things that students in the middle are, those adolescents are dealing with. So look for those in the next month or two, hopefully.
I just wanted to say, Dana, I am really interested to see that the EF skills by age chart. I have 4 kids that are like completely different age groups. So I think we try to teach a lot of independence just because there's 4 of them and, can't, give the individualized attention to each of them. But I'm curious to see, like, are my expectations too high or are they not high enough?
I think you brought a good point up too. Your like role in your birth order really does play. I was reading the little research on that too. Like your birth order really does impact your executive functioning development. So I think that's neat that you just kind of recognize that yourself. And your parenting style, which I'm not bringing into this conversation, but there is a whole bunch of research out there too on how your parenting style really impacts your child's executive function. And last piece, how you and your partner, whoever it is at home that's co-parenting with you, like if you're not on the same page, like that is something else to think about. So it's so many little tiny things that just create this executive function world for our kids, and it's so hard to manage it all. So that's why they sometimes have a hard time.
Our objective, with our MTSS model and with Dana in place and our labs in place and all of these supports, we don't want to go from, oh, a student struggling, let's test them for special ed. We don't want to do that. You have to stop at the 20-yard line, the 30, 40, 50-yard line before you cross into that end zone of, okay, you know what, we've tried X, Y, and Z, and we're not seeing much success. Let's now see if there's something more. Let's see if there's a deficit somewhere. But the truth is that there's some students who struggle, and it has nothing to do with the fact that they have any kind of need for special ed services. Some do, and that can be identified down the road, but we want to make sure we also have supports in place before that, because for some, it may be something very minor that we just need to help them with that will click for them and kind of get them on the right track. And that's ultimately the goal. For those that we feel we need to dive a little deeper with, we'll do that as needed. But we want to make sure we're trying other things first.
So as a parent of an 8th grader, and as you were saying, you're working with also the high school and hoping that, because again, none of us, I don't know, 2 different extremes in my household, even when they were little, you want strawberries? Yes, I want them whole. I want them cut, so I don't want to make assumption, but I'm hoping that because you're working together, these 8th graders who reality, if we think about it, they were in 5th grade when COVID happened in their world, and they didn't get a lot of that stuff in 5th grade. Will there be that continuation at the high school?
Yeah, I think so, Deb. I can tell you that I know Steve, the principal at the high school, is committed to it. I know that Nick, who's the MTSS coordinator at the high school, when he stepped into that role, his feet were moving before they hit the ground, and they've made a lot of changes already. In fact, some of the things that we put in place, we took from the high school. The structured study halls, the high school put them in place this year before we saw success with them, and we kind of stole that idea and found a way to implement that into our systems as well. So the communication has definitely been 2 ways. I know they have a lot more structure in place right now than they did 2 years ago at the high school, and a lot more supports in place than they did 2 years ago. So I feel comfortable in that regard with our students who are heading over there that might need, and that was part of it too, Deb, right? I mean, we recognized a trend, a pattern where we had because from 8th grade to high school is very different. The rigor, the expectations in regards to homework, the fact that you could take even some AP courses in 9th grade, right? Things change. And we found that a lot of our students, when they were over there in 9th grade, were falling flat. They weren't ready for the expectations. And I think the high school realized that they needed to put some other supports in place too. So to their credit, they've done that. They've identified that as a concern, and they've made some changes to address that. So I think it's a good thing. I think they continue to grow it out as we are here, and that'll continue in the years to come. But that's a good point.
If I can just add too, and I know Leslie was on that with me. Remember Leslie, we did that focus group where we studied the district's like priorities like last fall, I think it was. And I believe that was one of the biggest things that came out was our transitions. You know, we talked about parents and the community really concerned about those transitions. And I think that's something, you know, I think we should keep working at it and keep looking at it. I personally would like to get 6th grade to do some of these executive functioning things. That's on my long to-do list that I'm going to try to get them to do. But I think that's something that's always in our, like, because of that work we did, I think it's something we talk about a lot.
Yeah. Miss Deb's all over that transition piece. Don't you worry about that. I know she's on that. So she'll get that in line for us. Yep. Okay, well, Dana, I want to thank you. You're the best. We're spoiled in the middle school, obviously, with Dana and her expertise, and you know, it's nice for me to be able to step aside and put my full faith in individuals and what they're able to do in their positions. And Dana is extremely good at what she does. So we're in good hands. The students who work with her are in excellent hands, and I want to thank you for joining us tonight. And
Thank you.
Go be with your kiddos.
All right, yeah, we got a birthday celebration, 15.
Okay.
So.
Have fun.
All right, well,
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dana.
thanks guys. It's great talking to all of you. You'll get my email. I will send you stuff and you can find me, and I love talking, obviously. So just reach out.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank
Dana.
All right, thanks. I got to figure out how to leave. Oh, here we go. Bye.
So anybody who was here just for Dana is welcome to leave. No offense taken. If you'd like to stay for the rest of our meeting, you're welcome to do that as well. But I want to thank you for joining us, whatever direction you're going here. Thank you for joining us. And like I said, we each month we hope to have a different guest and give them about a half hour of floor time. So okay.
Do you want
All
to
right.
the agenda?
Oh, let me pull up the agenda. Yes. Sorry. I think I have that here. Let me
I tried to send it today, so we had it
see.
close to the email.
All right. Let me find the right thing on my. Let's try this again. Is that up for you?
Yep.
See it? Okay. Well, I guess I'm up. I feel like I've spoken too much already, but are you ready? You want to jump right into it, Leslie?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Not a whole lot on my report tonight. Just some dates and events coming up. The 19th is our middle school spelling bee. They've been practicing each week to get themselves prepared. We have to be prepared as well. I know last year's bee, we ran out of words on our pre-prepared word list, and we had to scramble and start pulling words off the internet to give to the kids to spell, because there was like 5 kids left and they were doing words that I didn't even know what the words were. I didn't think they were English, but so the kids are getting prepared and we're getting prepared as well for that. Just a note that the end of the second marking period / first semester is now the 24th. It had been the 23rd, but with the snow day that we used, that bumps back the last day of the second marking period to the 24th. Your child, whether they be 7th or 8th grade, will be between now and the end of February, they will be starting to dive into course selection for either 9th grade if they're an 8th grade student, or 8th grade if they're a 7th grade student. For our 7th graders, really what that consists of is selecting your electives. It's a pretty simple process for our 7th graders. Is they don't have to select a language anymore, because in the middle school it's a 2-year commitment. So if they're in French 1 this year, they'll be in French 2 next year, or part 1 this year, part 2 next year, I should say. The core area subjects, the ELA, the math, the science, the social studies, those are all recommended courses for our current 7th graders. So that's not something they select necessarily. So teachers have to take a little time looking at data, test scores, and determine if when they go to 8th grade, they're going to be recommended for an honors class or a non-honors class in those core subjects. But they will get to choose, the 7th graders going into 8th grade will get to choose their electives, unless they're in a band or music, one of our performing arts, then they just select that they're in that again, and they don't have to worry about selecting electives. A little bit more comprehensive for our students in 8th grade who are moving on to 9th grade. Over the next few weeks in their social studies classes, they'll be viewing a video of all the elective offerings at the high school, from animal studies to CAD to STEAM related courses, everything. And they will also be viewing a video created by the high school guidance department just about the course selection process and how to go in and select your courses. And then the high school counselors will also come over one day to meet with all of the 8th grade students in, again, their social studies classes. So if you haven't already received some communication from high school guidance counselors and you're a parent of an 8th grader, you can expect that over the next few weeks, you'll be hearing from the high school counseling department about the process and what's going on. But they really come over and walk the kids through it, and their 8th grade teachers, most of them have been through it numerous times. So even without the counselors, our 8th grade teachers are well versed in the course selection process, and how to help them pick their electives they desire at the high school and everything else. So that's kind of the big thing on the radar right now. That 'tis the season for course selection. One thing to keep in mind, whether you're a parent of a 7th grade student or the parent of an 8th grade student right now, nothing that you or your child does right now in this process is set in stone. And I certainly, speaking from the middle school stance, we're making changes and modifications to schedules up to the day before school starts in the fall. I mean, I think I want to pull my kid back and have them in this elective instead, or I prefer they be in course instead of band. I mean, we make those changes all summer up to, and even after the first day of school, we're making some changes to the schedule. So don't feel like, I don't want anybody getting stressed out or feeling like their nerves are racked because I can't figure out what elective to take or what should I. It's okay. Put something in, and if you change, that's an email or a phone call to fix that. So that's all I have. Any questions for me? Okay, over to you, Leslie.
Okay. Thank you, Corbin. So for February, we have coming up our book fair. And if you're on our Facebook page, Kara just posted that we are in need of committee members to help run the book fair. She's also looking to train people to run it next year, because if you see my last bullet point there, Kara Burrell is retiring from the PTA. So she will no longer be helping with IT, with our website, or Facebook, with the book fair. So she's got a lot of roles that we're going to need to fill. So, this is the first thing, and this would be a really good opportunity to shadow her and see everything that goes into running the book fair. So she's in need of some people. In March, we are looking to have another youth activities night. We had a lot of success with that in October for winter and spring sports. So we're looking to do summer and fall activities. And we will make sure we advertise the heck out of this one so we can make sure we reach everyone. April, we are looking to do a cornhole tournament. I believe, Corbin, at the gym department, the health and PE department had purchased cornhole boards. So we're going to be utilizing them for a tournament.
Yep.
And have a lot of fun there. And then just my comment about Kara. So we need to replace a lot of roles for Kara. Very sad, but she will not have a middle school student next year. So she is looking forward to moving on. So we do need some help there. Unfortunately, Beth had to hop out of the meeting, but I'm just going to touch on she so awesome coordinated a fundraiser with Piccolo Mundo. So the dates, I'm just going to pull up my notes real quick. So National Pizza Day is February 9th, I believe it is. And we are doing a fundraiser with Piccolomundo. You can purchase a pizza kit. It'll come with dough, sauce, cheese, pepperoni, and instructions for how to cook it. And the cost is $15. And we'll be selling these until February the 3rd. They're not up yet for sale, but they will be soon. And then we'll be selling until February 3rd. And then on the 9th, you can come pick up your pizza and you can celebrate National Pizza Day with us. And those proceeds will go towards everything that we do with fundraise with the PTA, with recognizing our teachers and our students. And then I think we're moving on to Jen, if Jen's able to speak.
I don't know if Jen's able to hear us or if she's
Coaching.
free to talk or not, but I see she's in the room, but I don't know if she's otherwise predisposed. Oh, she just
All right,
unmuted.
can you?
Yes, we can hear you.
Gotcha, Jen.
Okay. Yeah, I just have the update of the bank balance, which is $8,267.27. So that's the balance as of today. And then I guess for the Beth, I don't know if Beth has looked into Member Hub, how to set it up. I can set up the store item for purchasing the doing the pizza fundraiser.
Yeah.
She did mention to me she was going to reach out to you, so I'll remind her so that you can help walk her through how to set it up in Member Hub.
Okay.
Jen, did you buy a horse recently? I saw you walking what looked to be a miniature horse the other day when you were out. Was that that actually a dog?
Oh yeah, that was my greyhound.
That thing's massive. Greyhound looks like a Great Dane.
No, he's
It's a
definitely
greyhound?
smaller than a greyhound. Yeah.
Big dog.
Yeah, I can't wait to see your puppy next time I'm in your neighborhood.
You have to look carefully. She's only 7 pounds. Your dog would swallow that thing whole. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, Lenny's 78 pounds.
Oh.
So he's a big guy.
Okay.
And does anyone have any other treasurer questions?
Nothing for me.
Okay. All right, great.
Are you trying to unmute? I think Noelle's trying to unmute.
Maybe I can help. Hold on. No, I can't unmute her.
Here I go. Here I
There
am.
you are.
I just trying to push the button on my phone and then I hit the conference speaker thing my husband has and it was
Why?
talking to me.
I guess Noelle's not taking over for Kara in the technology role. Darn it. Rules her out.
Yeah. Phew, right.
Well played, Noelle. Well played.
Yeah. That was lucky. So the meeting minutes, I did actually copy the minutes from the last meeting we had from the video. So I sent them out and I guess we can post them once we've approved them, right? Don't we have to, right? Do I need to do anything other than like make a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
thank you. I'm writing that down. Okay, and that was all I had.
All right, thank you. Then I think we're going to move on to committee reports. So for faculty appreciation, this is kind of what's in the works so far. And we were teacher appreciation. We've changed it to faculty appreciation to make sure we're encompassing everyone. So we have our breakfast on Thursday. So we really appreciate all the donations that are coming in and all the people that are coming in to help Wednesday evening, Thursday morning to set up and clean up. And the nice thing is we're going to have this on Thursday morning. So there will be lots of leftovers and Friday morning, they'll get another breakfast too. So that'll be nice. February, we're working on Valentine's Day gifts. March, we're working on, we're going to have a Super Bowl. And it's going to be over conferences. So we're going to do this on, I believe it's Wednesday the 1st. And then again with leftovers, if they'll have leftovers for Thursday as well. And then we're going to work on some fun prizes for our winners from the Super Bowl. April will have a shower for our teachers for snacks and treats that they like. We're going to survey them and figure out what we'd like to have donated. And then May and June are still in the works. The Faculty Appreciation Committee is meeting Thursday night. So if you're interested in joining us and want to help continue planning all these great things for faculty, let me know, email our email, and we can send you the invite.
Hey, Leslie, and this is probably a question I should already know the answer to. Has anyone from PTA shared out with the faculty about the breakfast on Thursday? If not, I'll do so tomorrow. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure they're even aware that there'll be breakfast for them on Thursday. So I'll make them aware. I'm sure they'll be very pleased to hear that.
Okay.
I'll make them aware tomorrow that they'll have some treats provided for them Thursday morning.
Thank you.
Well, what time you're there until what time, Leslie, that you'll be in the LGI?
We'll be in the LGI from it should be all set up about 7 a.m.
Okay.
Until we'll start cleaning up at 9:30.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Let me scroll down here.
And then I think this is the dance. This is Jen again, if she's
Yeah.
able to jump in.
Yeah, so Corbin went over the dates that were available. So we have two options. I don't know if the board has preference over one. I haven't brought it to the dance committee yet. Even though I think we're down to like 2 people on the dance committee. So does anyone have any preference?
I am around for either one, so whatever you need help with, Jen, you let me know.
Okay.
I'm
Just
good
putting
for
it
you.
out there, the 14th is the week we get back from
From break.
and break. So I'm just putting it, putting it out there,
Solid point. Yeah.
versus the 28th, you have a little bit more time. I don't know when the 8th grade, not that this dance because it's 7th graders won't be going to the 8th grade dance, but I'm not sure the date of the 8th grade dance.
I think it's June 2nd, actually. But I would need to check I may be thinking of last year's 8th grade dance too, but let me just check on that. I might be able to give you a more definitive answer.
Right. So I'm just, I will volunteer
It's
and
June 2nd.
come and chaperone at the dance again. Because I'm in the building, I can't volunteer at this breakfast. So unless Corbin wants to find me coverage.
Volunteer to come eat, Deb,
But yeah, I'll help out with the dance.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deb. You were a lifesaver last dance.
I thought the last dance went very well. It was great. It was nice to see kids being just typical middle school kids and having fun. And there were things in place that from, Corbin's end that helped all of that too. I think that it was a nice, I'm a little crazy that enjoys middle school kids. So
Even when there's 500 of them together in one.
yes. Yeah.
Good for you. Me too. Me too. Yeah, I would if I would cast my vote for the 28th, Jen, if you're looking to kind of get a
Okay.
push in one direction, that would be my lean.
All right, that sounds good. Let's make it the 28th.
Boom, done. It's going in the calendar.
Anything else about the dance?
Samantha, you have a question? I see a hand raised. Go ahead.
I had a great time volunteering. I'll volunteer again. I
Ah,
I
nice.
had so much fun. one suggestion, and I will help with this, is like, I was at the water station, so we definitely we blew through the water.
Always.
I didn't mind because I got to see everybody. So I was like, here, so we blew through the water and we blew through the juice. So I don't know
Yeah.
if we want to, although it'll just be 8th grade for this dance. Is that correct?
No,
So,
no, this will be both. The 8th grade dance
Oh.
is separate from the PTA, and that one's in June.
okay.
So this will be 7th and 8th grade. But it's a good point. We always go through water and or cups very quickly.
Yeah. So I
No.
don't know.
Now I think did we have coolers with water or just water bottles?
So it was
We
mostly,
had both.
yeah, it was, but I would say they blew through the water bottles really quickly. So I don't know if there's a way to get a second cooler, because I had to have the
Yeah.
cooler refilled for water.
I have 2 of the big Gatorade coolers just here at my house from
It might not be a bad
my
idea.
coaching days. I can certainly bring.
Yeah.
I definitely think it would be better if we did the smaller cups full of water, because they were just, there were so many half-filled water bottles that they
Mhm.
just threw
Yeah.
out in the trash and not even in the recycle
Yeah.
bin.
Yeah, I don't,
Agreed.
yeah, I didn't mind, like, I could easily fill up the water quickly and get it done. So that wasn't, they were all very patient and very polite. I thought they were great, but yeah, I mean, just from like a recycling perspective, like I would much rather not waste the plastic, and the little water cups were fine, and it was good, and I got to see everybody and they all had to talk to me. So it was kind of fun.
Agree on all points, and thank you for volunteering again.
So if we're gonna do the dance on the 28th of April, do we want to move the cornhole tournament to May then, just to kind of separate out events, do we think? May might be a little warmer too.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, warmer weather.
yeah,
We didn't have anything in May, but that's an
Good.
easy one to put together, and it might be a good end of year activity.
yep. Okay. Okay, do we have
Maybe
any?
something to do after all that lovely testing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do we have any questions from anyone? No? Any more discussion?
Oh, hey, sorry, Leslie, this is Casey.
yeah.
I got kicked out because we lost power, but so I didn't hear what Corbin said about the course selections. And will we be able to see what our kids chose?
Yeah, usually at the very end of February, we open it up so that parents can go in and see what their kids have selected. I typically do that the very end of the week before conference week. So I think conferences are the first week in March, because we want parents to be able to see that in case they have questions for teachers at conferences or want to discuss any of that. And that's not to say you have to have a conference to discuss it. You can email or contact the teacher anytime if you have questions. But I would expect that we'll open Skywards for parents to be able to see the recommendations and requests at the end of February, last week in February.
Okay, great, thanks.
Sure.
All right, I think that might be it. So those are our future dates for February, March, April, and May. And I guess that's it. All right, thank you, everyone.
thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Thanks, everyone. Good seeing you.
Night.
Bye-bye.